we've recently had some huge successes at Comey and Shepherd, and that's been because other brokerages haven't been as proactive in dealing with the NAR settlement. They've made decisions as a company that maybe the agents don't understand, and they're asking a lot of questions.
Hey, it's Ben, and it's a great day to recruit. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Recruiting Insight Podcast. Our theme this season is, how'd you do that? And we're talking to leaders who have developed and executed a compelling recruiting strategy that really worked. Now this week, we're going to be connecting with Tracy Dunne. Tracy is a branch manager with Comey and Shepherd in Cincinnati, Ohio, and she manages their flagship office in the Mariemont neighborhood. In the last few months, there have been a few disruptions in the Cincinnati market that have caused some of the high-producing agents to become disgruntled. Now, you're not heard of these disruptions because they're local, and from the outside, it looks like everything's fine, nothing's changing. But in reality, much is happening, and these types of events often drives agent movement in a marketplace. So here's the question. As a hiring manager, how do you take advantage of these types of disruptions without appearing sleazy or self-serving? Well, that's what Tracy's going to help us navigate today. She and her peers have recently hired 22 experienced agents, and most of them have joined the company because of these disruptions. This is a topic, an opportunity that every hiring manager should know how to handle proficiently. So let's get started. And hey, Tracy, thanks so much for joining us today for the Recruiting Insight Podcast. I know our listeners are going to be excited to hear from you because of the great things that Comey and Shepherd's been doing in the last few months. Some pretty exciting stuff. So before we get into all that, can you tell me a little about yourself and how you got into real estate and how you ended up at Comey and Shepherd?
So I always say I was born and bred Comey and Shepherd. I started out at Comey and Shepherd as an unlicensed assistant for a couple of agents in our Anderson office. And from there, I became a licensed assistant, then a buyer's agent, then went out on my own for quite a few years and had a pretty successful sales business, and then decided that I'd give a shot at getting into management. So it's been quite a ride, but I've enjoyed every minute of it.
So what was some of the motivations there? You're a pretty successful agent, so you could have stayed doing that, obviously. What was motivating you to go into management?
Well, I think that I enjoyed selling, but I really enjoyed mentoring. So I took on a role as a field trainer, helping agents in our office, and I just really enjoyed helping others grow their business. And to be honest, the hours are a little bit more regular. I might have to take calls on the weekends, but I don't have to get up on Saturday morning and go show property. So sometimes I miss that, but most times I really enjoy what I'm doing today. So.
Well, most recently, in addition to your management role at Comey and Shepherd, you took on a management role for the association, right? And I kind of was walking through that with you at different times, and so what that's a big job. So what caused? I don't know, maybe you regret it now, but what caused you to go down that path?
Well, initially I was voluntold by our senior management that would be good for us to have a presence on our local board. So I volunteered to run for the board of directors and was successful in that campaign. And I actually enjoy it. I enjoy working with people from all different brokerages. I enjoy the relationships and the just having the opportunity to help people in a different way than I do in my day-to-day business. So I'm one of those crazy people who enjoys it.
Well, you do a great job at it, and so things that we're good at, we tend to enjoy. I think, because there's always a connection there. So, you've had some challenges. So you've had, I think you guys had a major like MLS ransom problem that you had to navigate through. Of course, you've got the NAR settlements, just like everyone else. So you jumped in when things were hot. How's that? How have you navigated all that?
Well, it's never easy. I think the biggest part of this is just staying calm and also making sure that we gather information. It's listening to our members, listening to our agents and seeing how we can best support them. And also knowing what resources to tap into to figure out how to navigate forward. So it was not fun when we went without an MLS for quite a bit of time. And so had a lot of experience in dealing with conflict management. And so it's been a bumpy road, but I think we're on the other side of it. I do think based on some of the experiences that we had in this market last year with our MLS outage, I think agents have confidence that we can pull them through what's going on now with the NAR settlement. So.
So you have a unique position in the sense that you're running an office on your own, of course, and you have for many years. But at the same time, you get to see across the whole kind of landscape, industry-wise, at least within Cincinnati. And so, what do you feel like some of those disruptions that are happening right now that agents are pretty concerned about?
Well, we've recently had some huge successes at Comey and Shepherd, and that's been because other brokerages haven't been as proactive in dealing with the NAR settlement. They've made decisions as a company that maybe the agents don't understand. And they're asking a lot of questions, and they want information, and a lot of times, agents will call and say, can you just talk to me about what's going on? Can you explain to me what this means to our industry? What do you see happening to our industry down the road? So a lot of it is just the relationships that I've had the privilege of building over the last few years. Those people reaching out to me as someone that they feel has knowledge about what's going on, and just being able to share that. We have a fabulous company with amazing leadership that is committed to helping agents get through this and providing tools and providing the counsel and the coaching that agents need in this time of disruption.
Yeah.
And I think that not all brokerages are experiencing that right now.
Yeah, it's tough to navigate. It's not easy. I think there's a lot of people. In fact, everybody's trying. It's just some people are being more successful at it than others. Well, in your particular case, there's kind of two different major disruptions that happened. I think within the last couple months. One was a major acquisition in your marketplace. I won't mention any names, but there's an acquisition that came along. Acquisitions come along all the time in the real estate industry, so it isn't just your area, it's happening all over the country. And in addition to that, of course, all the NAR settlement things. Pretty much everybody's dealing with that. So these are common disruptions that maybe are happening in every single marketplace. When you saw these kind of coming down the pike, and these were going to happen from a recruiting perspective, what was going through your mind, and how did you start to strategize around this?
So I'm by nature someone who's helpful, and in my recruiting calls that I've made year after year with under your direction, I have really built a lot of relationships, and I spend that time that I am, making those calls, just building the relationships that I have with my peers and the agents across our entire community. And I think that when these disruptions happen, they naturally, they feel comfortable calling me. I'm not someone they haven't heard from for a long time. I am someone that checks in with them routinely. I'm somebody who they know is always willing to lend an ear. And in both instances where we have acquired quite a few agents from a single brokerage recently, one with the acquisition, it was someone calling and saying, can you help me? I don't know how to do this. This isn't what I want to do. I need a company that will provide for me a lot of the things that Comey and Shepherd does. So I feel like for me, it's been about creating relationships and attracting the business to me. Because I feel like in both of these instances where people were unhappy, it wasn't me constantly calling and saying, hey, do you want to come work for me? It's me constantly calling them, having a relationship with them, understanding how they operate their business and saying, hey, if there's ever anything I can do for you, please feel free to pick up the phone and call me.
Okay, so when you're hearing about these frustrations that they're experiencing, obviously, so some things are if we talk to everybody who's listening to the podcast today, they've never heard about these disruptions in your marketplace, right? They're all local kind of things. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times these disruptions aren't obvious. They're smaller things that are happening kind of underneath the radar for most people. So first of all, it sounds like you have a lot of conversations that allow you to hear about the frustrations. Are these agents working through their management with frustrations, or are they kind of trying to figure this out on their own typically?
More often they're not working through their own management to figure things out. In the case of the acquisition, I think agents felt abandoned. I think that no one saw it coming. They didn't feel, they felt that they had given loyalty and it wasn't returned to them. So they, it was them. It was obvious that they weren't getting what they needed at that time. So again, just picking up the phone, letting people know I'm here for them. Even when I knew those disruptions were happening, I picked up the phone, I called them, I'm here for you if you need me. And they were, willing to talk at that point. They were saying, help me, I do need help. Okay. And that's a big part of it is just, for me, I can't call someone and say, hey, let me know when you want to come work for me. I can't call them and say, I'm just not salesy. I just can't always, I was never the kind of agent that said, let me know if, you know anybody that wants to buy or sell. I feel like even with recruiting, it's for me about building the relationships and attracting the business. And always trying to have our best foot forward so that we're the kind of company they want to come work with.
So in those cases, I think we have to look at this from two angles, right? So recruiting and retention, right? So all the disruptions are going to eventually happen to our businesses, our offices, right? So I think there's a lesson here that we need to stay close to our agents when disruptions happen because their natural tendency is to go talk to somebody else rather than talking to us. So I think that's super important. But in spite of that, what seem to be kind of the catalyst points or the tipping points that cause them to not only reach out to you, but start to say, hey, I may not be in the right spot?
I think in both cases where we had a significant number of people come at once, it was one leader. It's making sure that I was in touch with the people who are also respected leaders in that organization. And much of the recruiting that followed was agents coming over and saying, we're really happy here. This is a place where we belong. This is a good company. This is a company that is going to provide us the support and what we need. But we also put our agents to work making people feel at home. And that helps both our own culture and it helps people feel assimilated into our culture as well. So we make it a point to gather, everybody together and make them feel welcome. And we let our agents know we've got new members of the family and we want you to make them feel at home, and it works for us.
Yeah. Well, I think part of this is just you starting to get to the point where hey, this isn't about me as the leader, it's about us as the team, and it's about you bringing on other people who you want to work with, who you want to have as your peers and have as professionals. So I think you guys have done a phenomenal job with that, and really had a number of people jump in on this.
Yeah. I mean, I truly I feel very fortunate. I feel fortunate that these people have chosen us to come and work with us, and we've tried to capitalize on opportunities that can help make us better too, because in every case, these are professionals that we want to be a part of our organization. They're the people I've been calling for years because they're the people I want to do business with. If I can't have them as part of my company, I want to be doing deals with them. They're professional, they're educated, they're good.
Yeah.
Relationship people, so. it's been good.
That's great, and I think that level of authenticity really comes through as you connect with these people, and has for many years. So just a little background on Comey. Your company is a little bit different in the sense that you tend to hire and engage full-time professional agents. Really, if you want to be a professional full-time agent in the Cincinnati market, really there's no place better to go than Comey and Shepherd. So really, part of your value proposition is if you want to work around these type of people, then you need to come to Comey and Shepherd, because that's where all the full-time professional agents are, right? Did I explain that well?
I always say, I don't want it to be your part-time job or hobby to sell somebody the biggest asset of their lives.
Exactly. Now, there's those agents, and they may be a fit somewhere else, but they're not fit at Comey and Shepherd. So obviously, that strong value proposition, that strong, clear message that you put it in, not only you've put out into the marketplace, but you really live up to, I think, in many ways. So it's allowed you to grab. In this case, it was 22 experienced agents so far in the last few months, and so remarkable, just accomplishment. That's right. It's we're going to talk about onboarding in a minute, because it's hard to. So what I hear you saying though is that really the work to get these agents didn't start a month ago or 2 months ago. It started several years ago. Really, okay.
Absolutely, positively. It's been years of building relationships. When I make my recruiting calls, I call and build the relationships. I call and ask, and I keep notes so that I know that somebody had a daughter that was getting married in the fall. That gives me a good follow-up point. Hey, I remember that you said your daughter was getting married in the fall. How did everything go? Was it, again, just being able to keep in my notes information about these people so that I have a reason to call them back, other than just to say, just remember I'm here. People, I always make sure they know that they have a home here at Comey when they're ready, or if they're ready. But it doesn't hurt me to have those great relationships with people who work for other companies as well. So and it has really paid off for us.
Yeah.
Recently.
Well, and I think it's going to continue. I think there's still, there's always more disruptions coming down the road, right? I mean, this industry is constantly, has full of these bumps, right, that are along the way. So once you got the ball rolling, and there started to be some people coming over, and it does start to become a bit to manage here. So how did you manage it, and then what obstacles do you have to overcome to kind of get people through the process?
That's a good question. A lot of it is in a couple of the cases, we had groups of people that moved together. And so we made an effort to rearrange space in our own offices so that those people could remain together in the community that they were comfortable in. While also putting some pretty strategic players in the mix in the area where they were, so that they don't feel abandoned. They don't feel like we just stuck them in the downstairs corner, but that they realize, we've given them a place to continue the community that they have. And we do a lot of company training, a lot of branch activities at each of the branches. So we've continued with that just to make sure that we are, and making sure that we're including them in our activities. Our managers are of all of our offices, very engaged with those agents and with the agents. Again, the recruiting retention thing becomes quite a balance in making sure that that you are still giving the love that you need to give to the agents who have been with you and loyal to you for so long, while also helping these new people feel like they are in just the right place. So it's, again, we've been very intentional about the space that we've chosen for them. We've been very intentional about making sure we extend invitations to them, personal invitations to be a part of the things that we're doing so that they feel a part of the community.
Yeah. Well, there's just a lot to kind of piecing all this together that until you probably start doing it and making it happen, it's hard to think of all the things. So this is super helpful. So let's talk about kind of the flow of agents that came over. There's a psychology around group dynamics and how people interact with each other and referrals and influencers and all that kind of stuff. There's a concept kind of like the follow the herd sort of mentality. One person leaves, maybe if it's important or a well-respected person, and then other people follow, right? And so did that happen in this case where you had
in both cases?
Okay.
In both of our we've had some one-off hires, but we've been successful with two major hires. Probably 2/3 of that 22 is people who came together in a group, and just getting the right one to come over, and they miss that leadership that person was providing at the place they used to be. And so they're calling that leader. They're saying, what's going on? Why did you make this change? What does Comey have that our competitor, that our company doesn't have? And I don't have to do the selling. The agents do it for me, and
Okay.
they follow the leader. They follow the leader for sure.
Okay. So from a strategy perspective, I know it's hard to say, hey, I want this person, and if this person, all the dominoes are going to fall. I wish recruiting was that predictable, and so some of this just kind of happens, right?
It does.
we happen to get the right person, and
Absolutely does. And in one case, I feel like I had targeted the wrong person, because it wasn't the person that I had been targeting that was the actual first person to make the move, but she was friends with the right person. And so when the time came, she said, it started off with, I had a conversation with Tracy and she said these things. The next day, that person picked up the phone, called me, and had a conversation with me, and that's what got the ball rolling. So I got lucky that I hadn't necessarily targeted the right person, the leader that everybody followed, but it worked out for me.
yeah, well, it's good to be lucky sometimes.
And that one I recruited for years and years was the last one to make the move.
Well, there you go. That happens. Well, so some of that's obviously happened organically, right? So you're trying to navigate the best you can. How much of it is being driven by referrals, where you're actually asking referrals, where you're saying, hey, do you know anybody else I should be talking to here in the organization? Who else is unhappy? Are you proactively driving some of that too?
A little bit. For sure. Yesterday I had a list of 6 people to call, and that came from the list that those agents that had made the transfer told me about. So that's how it works. They come over and they say, well, you might want to give this person and this person and this person a call. And here's what their needs are, and here's what makes them, they're people I don't have relationships with, but I'll start to build them right away, because yes, so that does happen. Those referrals come from the people who have made the referrals, who have made the move.
So I'm hearing is that two things kind of to take away. One is that none of this happens quickly in an ultimate sense, right? So this has been stuff that you've been working on. You and I have been working together for 5 years probably. We've been making calls. We've been engaging these people. So we've got to lay the groundwork for this type of event to happen. And you can't just, hear about something and say, now I need to go call that person because, they had a manager change or something like that. So you've laid all this groundwork. And then when the event happens, you've got to be able to execute execute thoughtfully. Otherwise, you do come across as looking salesy or looking opportunistic or looking like the other 15 people that, because everything that happens, right? Everyone else calls too at that moment, and it isn't like nobody else notices this. So it's kind of seems like a combination of both of those. Is that fair to say?
That is very fair to say. That is very fair to say. And, some people I'll say I have, been in touch, I'll just stay in touch with them. Like, I know they've got a pain point. I know that they're not exactly happy where they are, but I'm not somebody to push them. I'm all about attracting them. I'm all about being here for them. So if I know they've got a pain point, I'm going to continue to make that call every so often. Not every week, not every 2 weeks, but once a month, every other month, if it feels better, just calling that person and saying, hey, how are things going? Have they gotten any better? I hope things, and then I'll say, I still have your office, those people who I know, if they make a move, they're coming my way. And I let them know, I've already got their office picked out. I've already got a space for them. And I did that with somebody yesterday. I called and said, I know, we brought a bunch over, and I just want to let you know, I still saved a spot for you. So I'm ready for you when you're ready to come. So it's just being here at the right time and making sure they know that you're ready when they're ready.
Well, let's as we wrap up here, I wanted to talk a little bit onboarding, right? So I was in a group meeting with you and all your peers, and one of your peers is like, "How do I keep up with all this? This is so much, And so with onboarding, you guys tend to focus on higher performers, full-time agents. How is onboarding different for that type of agent, that's doing 4, 6, 8, 10 million with production versus somebody that's a lower producer? How would you say you navigate that higher producer?
So we just had a meeting yesterday to talk about how we were going to work on the infrastructure for bringing in more, plenty of experienced agents all at the same time, to give a little bit more support. So we have a program called Field Training Program, and that is designed to help the newer agents in the business learn everything they need to know about real estate. It's a good foundational program, but we have extended that program for our new to Comey people. So our field trainers are now going to be incentivized to make sure that our new agents are what we call Comeyized. So they may be familiar with some of the technologies and they may not be familiar. So we've even set up where if they're using, all of our technologies, that person's there for support. Our field trainer is there to support for, X number of transactions. And if they are using all new technology, then they're supported for more transactions. But it's making sure that they have that one-on-one training. And when the manager can't do it all, or the field trainer can't do it all, just pulling the resources of our agents, because they're happy to help. It makes them feel a part of it. It helps build the relationships between the new people and the old people who have been here. And so it really truly is just about doing everything we can to try to make them feel comfortable, teach them the technology.
So obviously the having everybody jump in on this is going to make them feel more connected to their peers or organization. Everybody's like, hey, everyone's trying to help me. But it seems like the technology may be one of the places that's the most tricky to navigate. Have you found that to be true?
Absolutely, positively. Because even when they use the same technologies, they use it differently in some cases. So we've really put a focus on putting training groups together. And honestly, we've found that even some of our own experienced agents have decided, oh, I'd like to learn how to do that a little bit better, or I wouldn't mind sitting in on that. So again, we're holding group sessions, group training. Hey, we're going to do a group training on our dot loop today, if anybody's interested in coming, and we get quite a response even with our own agents. But the technology is the most challenging, because a lot of times you just need one-on-one support. When you're doing your first deal and you're using new technology for the first time, you need that one-on-one. You need somebody to look at it and say, this is the way it should be. This is what you're doing right. This is how you do what you need to do.
Yeah. So with these, I love how you've kind of got it systematic, and you're really looking for what you know to be the pain points or know to be the struggles that are going to probably could derail a good hire or cause a lot of frustration. So have you ever thought, do you guys ever invite outsiders into these sessions that, are prospects to say, hey, why don't you come over to one of these trainings and see what we're doing?
Sometimes the social stuff, not always the training. I guess we
Okay.
could extend it out for the training, but
Yeah.
the social stuff we're big on. When we do our new agent happy hours and our new to Comey happy hours, that sort of thing, where we're doing welcome activities or social activities, we do extend it to prospective agents. We aren't always that intentional when we're doing training on our technology and that sort of thing, but we
Well,
do extend some of our training beyond our brokerage for things like we have an agent that does a webinar every Monday morning. So one of our managers does that, and people from all over the city participate in that. So that works to our advantage as well.
Well, it's at that end point, you obviously want to keep your eyes focused on the ball here. You just hired somebody, and the main objective is to have them have a great experience. So I get it that you want to spend that. You not only have to make sure all your existing agents feel loved, now you want to make sure this person's having a great onboarding experience, and then maybe don't get too greedy and try to get more. So just maybe stay focused on that objective is kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we wrap up, a number of your peers, Lean RE and other places, you guys have some large network groups that you're in and so forth. They're going to be watching the podcast. And what advice would you give them that we haven't covered, or if you just want to summarize some of the things we've said? But what advice would you give them who are trying to identify those distractions that are happening in the marketplace, and then taking using those as an opportunity to hire great agents?
Mm-hmm. I would say the biggest part of it is just, number one, be authentic to who you are. You need a script. You need to know what you want to say to people to get them to come over, but you can't be someone that you're not. You definitely need to build the relationships. You need to over time, you need to build the relationships, because that's what will attract people to come to work with you over time. And they will tell you what their pain points are, and they will tell you what's going on in their world if you just build that relationship with them, if you're willing to have that conversation. And so a lot of it is being a good listener, asking a lot of questions, and sometimes people talk themselves into making a move because they're busy talking and you're busy listening. I think a lot of times you can get wrapped up in giving your pitch about how great you are and what you provide. But a big, big, big part of it is listening to them and listening to what their concerns are and their pain points, and just making a simple comment like, we do it very differently here at Comey. And it causes them to ask questions like, oh, how do you do it differently? What do you mean? How do you do it differently? So just be authentic, be natural. Be who
Well,
you are.
I think I coach a lot of managers, but you're one of the best at that. You're one of the best at kind of portraying that, and well, because I think it comes from your heart. But that listening that you're able to do sounds like it has just a great effect on people and causes them to come. So. Well, thanks for joining us. Really appreciated it. This is a great discussion. I think many of our listeners are going to gain a lot from it. And for all of you that are doing the hard work of recruiting every day, take what you learned today and go make a difference.